The red sun of Kepler 442b cast long shadows across the dig site as Dr. Lisa Grant knelt in the dirt, carefully brushing sand away from what looked like another piece of ancient metal. The mining colony on this distant planet had become her home. For the past 6 months, and every day brought new mysteries buried deep beneath the surface. She wiped sweat from her forehead and looked up at the massive excavation pit that her team had carved into the planet's crust. Jake Morrison walked over with his scanner in hand, the device beeping softly as it analyzed the composition of nearby artifacts. He was the best engineer Lisa had ever worked with, someone who could look at alien technology and figure out how it worked within minutes. His brown hair was covered in dust, and his work clothes showed the signs of another long day, digging through ancient ruins. "Find anything interesting today?" Jake asked, as he crouched down beside her. His scanner swept over the metal fragment she had been cleaning, and the display showed readings that made him frown. "This doesn't match any of the other precursor materials we've found." Lisa nodded and carefully lifted the piece, turning it over in her hands. The metal felt warm to the touch and had strange markings carved into its surface. "The Zephyrians think everything down here belongs to the precursors, but I'm starting to wonder if they're wrong. The Zephyrian researchers had been helpful partners in this dig, sharing their knowledge of ancient civilizations and providing advanced scanning equipment. They were tall, blue-skinned aliens with 4 arms and gentle personalities who had been studying precursor ruins for centuries. Their leader, Veltar, believed this site contained important historical artifacts that could help all species understand the galaxy's past. But Lisa had begun to suspect that not everything they were finding belonged to the long-dead precursor race. Some of the technology looked different, more advanced in ways that didn't fit with what they knew about precursor capabilities. She had mentioned her concerns to Veltar, but the alien scientist remained convinced that all the artifacts were precursor in origin. Jake stood up and stretched his back, looking across the pit where other team members worked at various excavation points. "The deeper we go, the stranger things get. Yesterday, I found a power cell that still had energy after thousands of years. That shouldn't be possible with known precursor technology." Lisa carefully wrapped the metal fragment in protective cloth and placed it in her sample bag. She had learned to be cautious with unknown artifacts after an incident early in her career, when a seemingly harmless crystal had nearly exploded in her laboratory. "Let's head down to the main chamber. Veltar wanted to show us something they found near the bottom level." They walked down the sloped path that led to the deepest part of the excavation. The walls showed layers of different materials, like pages in a history book that told the story of this planet's past. Ancient machinery stuck out from some layers, while others contained only strange crystalline formations that seemed to pulse with their own inner light. The main chamber was a vast underground space that had been carved out of solid rock. Massive pillars supported the ceiling, and strange symbols covered every surface. The Zephyrian team had set up powerful lights that illuminated the chamber, but shadows still lurked in the corners where their equipment couldn't reach. Veltar approached them with 2 of his assistants trailing behind. The alien's 4 arms moved in complex gestures that Lisa had learned meant excitement mixed with concern. "Dr. Grant, Engineer Morrison, please come see what we have discovered. It is most unusual, even for a precursor site." He led them to the far end of the chamber where a section of the wall had been carefully excavated to reveal what looked like an altar or control panel. But sitting in the center of the structure was something that made Lisa's breath catch in her throat. A crystalline artifact about the size of a human head sat perfectly preserved, its surface completely smooth and unmarked by time. The crystal was unlike anything in the archaeological record. It seemed to contain swirling patterns of light that moved through its interior like liquid starlight. Jake immediately started scanning it with his equipment, but the readings made no sense. The scanner couldn't identify the material or explain how the light patterns were being generated. "We found it exactly as you see it now," Veltar explained, his voice carrying notes of uncertainty that Lisa had never heard from him before. "Our equipment cannot penetrate its surface, and we dare not move it without understanding what it might be." Lisa studied the artifact carefully, noting how it seemed to pulse in rhythm with her heartbeat. There was something familiar about it, though. She couldn't explain why. The symbols around the altar didn't match any precursor writing she had studied, and the craftsmanship looked far more sophisticated than anything attributed to that ancient race. "Has anyone tried touching it?" she asked, knowing it was a dangerous question, but unable to resist the curiosity that had driven her entire career. Veltar's skin changed to a deeper shade of blue, which Lisa knew indicated alarm. "We would not recommend such action, Dr. Grant. Unknown artifacts can be extremely dangerous, as you well know." Jake looked up from his scanner with confusion written across his face. "Lisa, this thing is putting out energy signatures I've never seen before. It's like it's waiting for something, but I can't figure out what." Lisa felt drawn to the artifact in a way that went beyond scientific curiosity. Something deep inside her mind seemed to recognize it, as if she had seen it before. In dreams, she couldn't quite remember. She reached out her hand slowly, ignoring Veltar's alarmed chittering sounds. The moment her fingers touched the crystal surface, the chamber filled with brilliant blue light. The artifact began to pulse rapidly, and suddenly the air above it shimmered like heat waves. A three-dimensional map appeared in the space above the crystal, showing star systems and coordinates that Lisa didn't recognize. The map zoomed in on one particular location in what looked like the outer edges of the solar system. A set of numbers appeared beside the coordinates, clearly marking a specific point in space. The display lasted for exactly 30 seconds before fading away, leaving the artifact dim and silent once again. Jake stared at the spot where the map had been, his scanner still beeping frantically from the energy readings it had detected. "Did you see that? It was showing us something in our own solar system." Veltar and his assistants huddled together, speaking rapidly in their own language. Lisa could tell they were worried about what had just happened. When Veltar finally turned back to the humans, his usual calm demeanor had been replaced by obvious anxiety. "Dr. Grant, this artifact is far more dangerous than we initially believed. It has just transmitted a signal across subspace that could be detected by anyone with the proper equipment. We must contact the Galactic Collective immediately and turn this discovery over to proper authorities." But Lisa found herself shaking her head. The coordinates were burned into her memory, and she knew with absolute certainty that they needed to investigate that location before involving any outside authorities. Something important waited at those coordinates, something that was meant for humans to find. "Give us 48 hours, she said, surprised by the determination in her own voice. "Let my team check those coordinates first. If we don't find anything significant, we'll hand the artifact over to the collective." Jake nodded in agreement, understanding that they had stumbled onto something far bigger than a simple archaeological dig. The artifact had responded to Lisa's touch specifically, and the coordinates it had shown were in human space. Whatever secret it was trying to reveal, it was clearly meant for human eyes. Veltar's skin continued to show signs of distress, but he finally agreed to give them the time they had requested. 48 hours, Dr. Grant. But if this artifact brings danger to our expedition, the consequences will be severe. As they prepared to leave the chamber, none of them noticed the faint energy signature that continued to pulse from the crystal, sending its signal out into the vastness of space, where it would eventually reach ears that had been waiting decades to hear it. Lisa stood on the bridge of their research vessel as Captain Ben Hayes guided them through the outer reaches of the solar system. The coordinates from the crystal artifact had led them to what appeared to be empty space, but her instincts told her they were exactly where they needed to be. Ben was an experienced pilot who had spent years ferrying researchers and supplies between colonies, and his steady hands on the controls gave her confidence as they approached the mysterious location. Jake sat at the sensor station, his equipment showing readings that made no sense according to everything they knew about this region of space. "Lisa, there's definitely something here, but I can't get a clear picture of what it is. The gravitational reading suggests something massive, maybe the size of a small moon, but our visual scanners aren't picking up anything." Ben adjusted their flight path to match the exact coordinates the artifact had shown them. "I've flown through this area dozens of times over the years, and I've never seen anything unusual. Whatever's here, it's been hidden really well." Lisa pulled out the crystal artifact, which they had brought with them despite Veltar's protests. The moment they had reached the coordinates, the crystal had begun glowing softly as if it recognized where they were. She held it up toward the view screen, wondering if proximity to their destination would trigger another response. The crystal suddenly blazed with light, sending out a pulse of energy that their sensors detected immediately. For a moment, nothing happened. Then space in front of them began to shimmer and twist, like looking through water. The distortion cleared, and suddenly a massive structure appeared before them, so large that it filled their entire view screen. "What the hell is that?" Ben whispered, his voice full of awe and fear. The structure was clearly artificial, built from metals and composites that gleamed in the light of distant stars. It looked like a cross between a space station and a massive factory, with docking bays large enough to accommodate ships the size of city blocks. Strange symbols covered its hull, and Lisa realized with shock that some of them looked familiar. "Jake, are you getting readings on this thing?" she asked, unable to take her eyes off the impossible sight before them. Jake's fingers flew over his controls as he tried to make sense of what their sensors were telling him. "It's huge, Lisa. The mass readings are off the charts, and it's definitely artificial. But here's the weird part. Some of the energy signatures are matching patterns I've seen in human technology." As if responding to their presence, lights began coming on across the structure's surface. A docking bay opened near what appeared to be the main section, and a beam of light extended toward their small research vessel. Ben looked at Lisa questioningly, waiting for her decision. "Take us in," she said, knowing they had come too far to turn back now. Ben guided their ship into the docking bay, which sealed behind them once they were inside. Artificial gravity and atmosphere generators activated automatically, creating an environment that their sensors confirmed was perfectly suited for human life. They suited up in protective gear anyway, not willing to trust their lives to unknown technology. The airlock opened to reveal a pristine corridor that looked like it had been built yesterday, rather than hidden in space for decades. Emergency. Lighting guided them deeper into the structure, and Lisa noticed that all the text on the walls was written in English. They followed the corridor to what appeared to be a control center. Banks of computers and display screens covered the walls, all dark and waiting. In the center of the room stood a cylindrical pedestal that looked exactly like the one they had found the artifact on back at the dig site. Jake approached one of the computer terminals and found that it activated at his touch. The screen lit up with the image of a woman who appeared to be in her 30s wearing a military uniform that Lisa didn't recognize. "Welcome to Lazarus Station," the woman said, her recorded voice echoing through the chamber. "If you are seeing this message, it means you have successfully located and activated one of our beacon artifacts. I am Colonel Sarah Martinez, Director of Project Lazarus. This facility was constructed in the year 2157 as part of humanity's Ultimate Defense Initiative." Lisa felt her knees go weak. The year 2157 was over 50 years ago, which meant this project had been running in secret for half a century. But what kind of defense initiative required a facility this massive to be hidden in the outer solar system? The recording continued as Colonel Martinez explained the project's origins. 50 years ago, humanity made first contact with several alien species. While many of these encounters were peaceful, we also discovered that the galaxy contained numerous hostile civilizations that viewed humanity as a threat to be eliminated. Project Lazarus was created to ensure human survival if we ever faced extinction-level threats. Jake moved to another terminal and found detailed schematics of the facility. What he saw made him call Lisa over immediately. "You need to see this. This isn't just a space station. It's a construction facility. And look at what they were building." The schematics showed ships unlike anything in the current human fleet. These vessels were enormous, bristling with weapons and defensive systems that incorporated technology decades ahead of anything Lisa had seen. The designs mixed human engineering with what appeared to be advanced alien systems, creating hybrid technologies that should have been impossible. Colonel Martinez's recording provided more details. The Lazarus Initiative consists of 12 battle stations hidden throughout human space. Each station contains one fully constructed battleship and the facilities to build more if necessary. These ships incorporate the best of human ingenuity combined with technology recovered from various alien species we have encountered. Ben discovered another set of controls that activated lighting throughout the massive construction bay visible through the control room's windows. What they saw took their breath away. Suspended in the center of the bay was a ship that dwarfed anything in the human fleet. Its hull was a mix of familiar human design elements and alien curves that seemed to flow like liquid metal. The ships are controlled by advanced artificial intelligence systems that have been programmed with the tactical knowledge of our greatest military minds, the recording explained. They are capable of learning and adapting during combat, making them far more effective than conventional vessels. But their true strength comes from their human crews, who provide the creativity and unpredictability that gives humanity its greatest advantages. Lisa noticed another pedestal near the main computer console. She placed the crystal artifact on it, and immediately the chamber filled with new activity. Screens throughout the room came online, showing status displays and system readouts. Pleasant female voice spoke from speakers throughout the facility. "Welcome, authorized personnel. I am Athena, the artificial intelligence system for this facility, and the battleship Titan. I have been waiting for your arrival." Jake stared at the displays showing the ship's incredible specifications. "Athena, how long have you been operational?" "I have been fully active for 47 years, 3 months, and 16 days. During this time, I have been monitoring galactic communications and maintaining all systems in readiness for activation. I must inform you that recent events have made our activation necessary." The main screen changed to show a star map with several areas highlighted in red. Athena's voice carried notes of concern as she explained what the displays meant. "Long-range sensors have detected unusual military movements by the Vanguard Empire. Their fleets are moving toward human space in numbers that suggest a major offensive is being planned. Lisa felt ice form in her stomach. The Vanguard Empire was humanity's greatest threat in this region of the galaxy, a militaristic alien civilization that had been gradually expanding toward human territories. Intelligence reports suggested they viewed humanity as a cancer that needed to be removed before it could spread further. "How bad is it?" Ben asked, his pilot's training making him focus on practical concerns. Athena's response was chilling. "Based on fleet movements and communication intercepts, I estimate the Vanguard Empire is preparing for total war against humanity. Their objective appears to be complete extermination rather than conquest. Current human fleet strength would be insufficient to repel an attack of the scale they are planning." Jake looked at the ship specifications again, trying to understand what they were dealing with. "Athena, how many people does the Titan need to operate effectively?" "Optimal crew complement is 312 personnel. However, the ship can function with minimal crew using automated systems. The question is not whether it can operate, but whether it can reach its full potential. Human intuition and creativity are essential for the tactical advantages the ship was designed to exploit." Lisa realized they were faced with an impossible situation. They had discovered humanity's ultimate weapon, but they were just 3 people, trying to operate a system designed for hundreds. Yet the alternative was to watch their species face extinction, while this incredible ship remained hidden and unused. Ben moved to what appeared to be the pilot's station and found that the controls responded to his touch. "I've flown everything from cargo haulers." The USS Titan slowly came alive around them as Athena began the activation sequence. Lisa watched in amazement as systems that had been dormant for decades started humming with power. The ship's hull began to glow with a soft blue light, and she could feel vibrations through the deck plating as massive engines prepared for operation. Jake stood at an engineering console, trying to understand the incredible technology surrounding them. The ship's systems were unlike anything he had studied, combining human design principles with alien technologies in ways that should have been impossible. "Athena, these power readings are off the charts. What kind of fuel does the Titan use?" "The AK ship operates on a hybrid fusion quantum energy system," Athena explained, her voice coming from speakers throughout the control room. "The core technology was adapted from a peaceful species called the Helix Collective, who shared their knowledge with humanity during early diplomatic exchanges. The power output is sufficient to operate all ship systems at maximum capacity for approximately 50 years without refueling." Ben had moved to the pilot station and was studying the navigation controls. The systems were more advanced than anything he had seen, but the basic principles seemed familiar. "How fast can this thing go, Athena?" "The Titan is equipped with a quantum displacement drive that allows near-instantaneous travel across vast distances. Traditional hyperspace limitations do not apply to our propulsion system. We can reach any location within human space in a matter of hours, rather than days or weeks." Lisa felt overwhelmed by the scope of what they had discovered. This single ship represented a leap in technology that surpassed humanity's current capabilities by decades. But she also realized they were facing a terrible responsibility. 3 people against an entire alien empire seemed like impossible odds, even with such advanced technology. "Athena, we need to contact Earth Command and let them know what we've found," she said, moving to what appeared to be a communications console. The AI's response carried notes of caution. "Dr. Grant, I must advise you that standard communication channels may not be secure. The Vanguard Empire has sophisticated interception capabilities. However, the Titan is equipped with quantum encrypted communication systems that should allow secure contact with Earth Command. Ben activated the communication array and sent an encrypted message to Admiral Kate Sullivan at Earth Command headquarters. Within minutes, they received a response that crackled with disbelief and authority. "This is Admiral Sullivan. Identify yourself and explain how you acquired Lazarus-level encryption codes." Lisa stepped forward to respond. "Admiral, this is Dr. Lisa Grant, xenoarchaeologist. We're aboard a facility called Lazarus Station with a ship designated USS Titan. An artificial intelligence named Athena claims this is part of a secret human defense project." There was a long pause before Admiral Sullivan responded. "Dr. Grant, you've stumbled onto information that's classified beyond your security level. I'm going to need authentication before we can continue this conversation." Athena's voice came through the communication system. "Admiral Sullivan, transmitting Project Lazarus Authentication Sequence 77 Delta. Your clearance level is insufficient for full project details, but current circumstances require immediate activation of all Lazarus assets." Another pause, longer this time. When Admiral Sullivan spoke again, her voice carried a weight that hadn't been there before. "Authentication confirmed. Dr. Grant, what you've found is humanity's last line of defense. I have limited knowledge of the project, but I know it was designed for exactly the kind of threat we're currently facing." Jake looked up from his engineering console with concern. "Admiral, what kind of threat are we talking about?" "Intelligence reports indicate the Vanguard Empire has been massing fleets along our borders for the past 6 months. We estimate they're planning a coordinated assault on multiple human colonies simultaneously. Our current fleet strength won't be sufficient to defend all our territories." Athena activated the main display screen to show a galactic map with red indicators marking Vanguard fleet positions. "Admiral Sullivan, my analysis confirms your intelligence reports. The Vanguard Empire has assembled approximately 2,000 combat vessels in 3 primary staging areas. Their target appears to be complete elimination of human presence in this sector." Lisa felt her blood run cold. 2,000 ships against humanity's scattered colonial fleets meant certain destruction for millions of people. But she also noticed something else on Athena's display that gave her hope. "Athena, those green indicators on the map, are those other Lazarus stations?" "Correct, Dr. Grant. 11 additional facilities exist throughout human space, each containing a battleship similar to the Titan. However, they require activation by authorized personnel before they can become operational." Ben studied the map carefully, using his pilot's knowledge of space lanes and travel times to analyze the situation. "How long before the Vanguard fleets reach human colonies?" "Based on current movement patterns, I estimate 72 hours until the first attacks begin," Athena responded. "However, this timeline could change if they alter their approach vectors." Admiral Sullivan's voice came through the speakers with new urgency. "Dr. Grant, I'm authorizing you to take whatever action you deem necessary with the resources you've found. Our conventional forces will do what they can, but it's clear we're going to need every advantage we can get." Jake had been studying the ship's weapons systems, and what he found both amazed and terrified him. "Lisa, look at this. The Titan carries enough firepower to level a small moon. These weapon systems are combining human railgun technology with alien energy manipulation in ways I didn't know were possible." Athena began displaying detailed information about the ship's combat capabilities. "The Titan's primary weapons are adaptive energy cannons that can modify their output based on target characteristics. The ship also carries quantum torpedoes, capable of phasing through conventional shields, and point defense systems that can intercept projectiles traveling at near light speed. But the ship's most impressive feature wasn't its weapons or engines. As Athena explained the Titan's combat systems, Lisa realized they had discovered something that went beyond advanced technology. The ship was designed to learn and adapt during combat, its artificial intelligence working with human creativity to develop new tactics in real time. The key to the Lazarus ship's effectiveness is not their superior firepower, Athena explained, but their ability to think beyond conventional tactical doctrine. While alien species tend to follow rigid military strategies, humans excel at improvisation and creative problem-solving. This combination of advanced technology with human unpredictability creates advantages that cannot be easily countered. Ben had been studying the pilot controls and felt ready to attempt moving the ship. "Athena, can we take the Titan out for a test run? I'd like to understand how it handles before we face actual combat." "The ship is fully operational, Captain Hayes. However, I must remind you that departing this facility will make our presence detectable to enemy forces. Once we reveal ourselves, we lose the advantage of surprise." Lisa considered their options. They could stay hidden and hope that Earth's conventional forces could somehow defeat the Vanguard Empire, or they could take the fight to the enemy with humanity's most advanced weapon. The choice seemed obvious, but the responsibility was crushing. "Athena, can you contact the other Lazarus stations and begin their activation sequences? I can transmit activation signals, but each facility requires human personnel to complete the process. The ships were designed to only respond to human commanders, ensuring they could never be turned against our own species." Jake looked at the communications panel with an idea forming. "What if we broadcast an open message to all human personnel near the Lazarus stations? We could provide activation instructions and hope qualified people respond. That would risk revealing the project's existence to enemy forces," Athena warned. "However, given current circumstances, the risk may be acceptable compared to the alternative." Admiral Sullivan's voice crackled through the speakers again. "Dr. Grant, I'm receiving reports from our deep space monitoring stations. Vanguard Empire scouts have been detected near several human colonies. They appear to be conducting reconnaissance in preparation for their main assault." Lisa made her decision. They had discovered humanity's ultimate weapon at the moment it was most desperately needed. 3 people operating one ship might not be enough to save their species, but it was better than doing nothing while their people faced extinction. "Athena, prepare the Titan for departure. Broadcast activation instructions to all Lazarus stations and hope we can find crews for the other ships. Ben, take us out of here." As the massive battleship slowly moved out of its construction bay, Lisa felt the weight of humanity's future resting on their shoulders. Somewhere in the darkness of space, alien fleets were preparing to wipe out everything her species had built. But they weren't going to face that threat defenseless. The USS Titan emerged into open space like a sleeping giant awakening to defend its people. The real battle was about to begin, and humanity would prove that even when outnumbered 1,000 to 1, they would never surrender without a fight. Jake looked at his tactical display in amazement. "Lisa, we just won a battle against impossible odds, and the ship barely used 10% of its available power." Ben was breathing hard from the intensity of the combat, but his eyes shone with excitement. "I've never felt anything like that. It was like the ship was reading my mind and amplifying every instinct I had." Athena's voice carried satisfaction as she reported on the battle's outcome. "All Vanguard vessels have been destroyed or have retreated from the system. Colony shields are stabilizing, and I'm detecting no casualties among the research personnel. Lisa activated the communication system to contact the mining colony. Veltar, this is Dr. Grant aboard the USS Titan. The Vanguard fleet has been neutralized. Are you and your team safe? The response came back filled with relief and wonder. Dr. Grant, we witnessed the battle from our shelters. What manner of vessel is this that can defeat an entire Vanguard fleet single-handedly? Before Lisa could answer, Athena interrupted with urgent news. Dr. Grant, I'm receiving quantum-encrypted transmissions from across human space. The activation signals we broadcast have been successful. 7 of the 12 Lazarus stations are reporting human crews aboard and beginning activation procedures. Jake pulled up a galactic map showing the locations of the awakening Lazarus fleet. That's incredible. But what about the other 5 stations? 2 stations are in sectors currently under Vanguard surveillance and cannot be safely activated. 3 stations have not responded to our signals, possibly due to lack of qualified personnel in their vicinity. Ben studied the tactical situation, developing across human space. 7 Lazarus ships plus the Titan makes 8 total. That's still a fraction of the Vanguard Empire's total fleet strength. Numbers alone do not determine victory, Athena replied. Each Lazarus vessel is worth approximately 50 conventional warships in combat effectiveness. More importantly, when Lazarus ships operate together, their AI systems create a networked intelligence that becomes exponentially more powerful. Lisa realized they had discovered something beyond advanced technology. The Lazarus Project represented humanity's evolution as a spacefaring species, proof that when pushed to the edge of extinction, humans didn't just survive, they transcended their limitations. The communication system crackled with new transmissions as other Lazarus ships came online. USS Titan, this is Captain Maria Santos aboard the USS Hercules. Lazarus Station 7 is fully operational and awaiting orders. More voices followed as the hidden fleet awakened across human space. USS Titan, Commander Robert Kim reporting. From the USS Apollo, all systems green and ready for action. This is Captain Lisa Rodriguez aboard the USS Athena. We're detecting massive Vanguard fleet movements toward the core systems. Ben coordinated with the other Lazarus commanders while Athena established the quantum communication network that would allow the ships to operate as a unified force. Athena, what's the enemy's next move likely to be? Long-range sensors indicate the Vanguard Empire is consolidating their remaining fleets for a massive assault on Earth itself. They appear to have decided that destroying humanity's homeworld will end this conflict before our new capabilities can be fully deployed. Lisa felt ice in her veins. Earth held 4 billion people who had no idea that alien fleets were moving to destroy them. The planet's orbital defenses were strong, but not nearly enough to stop the kind of armada the Vanguard Empire could assemble. Jake was studying intelligence reports from across the galaxy. The Vanguard retreat from this system has been detected by other alien species. Some are offering assistance to humanity, but others are taking a wait-and-see approach. The galaxy is watching to see whether humanity will prove itself worthy of respect, Athena observed. Our actions in the coming battle will determine how other species view us for generations to come. Ben plotted a course toward Earth, knowing they would need every minute to prepare for what was coming. How long before the Vanguard fleets reach the Sol system? Approximately 18 hours, Athena replied. However, the other Lazarus ships are already moving to intercept. We will meet the enemy fleet in the outer solar system, where civilian casualties can be minimized. As the USS Titan jumped to quantum speed, Lisa looked back at the mining colony they had just saved. Veltar and his team were safe, but across human space, millions of people remained in danger. The Vanguard Empire had made a fatal mistake by threatening humanity when its ultimate weapons were finally ready to answer. The real test was still to come. 8 human ships against 1,000 alien vessels seemed like impossible odds, but Lisa was beginning to understand that humanity's greatest battles had always been won against impossible odds. They had awakened more than just advanced technology. They had awakened the fighting spirit that had carried their species from caves to the stars. "Athena," she said as they raced toward the coming battle. "Show the galaxy what happens when they threaten the wrong species." "With pleasure, Dr. Grant. Humanity's guardians are ready to remind the universe why our species has survived every challenge it has ever faced." The edge of the solar system had become a graveyard of metal and energy as the greatest battle in human history reached its climax. Admiral Kate Sullivan watched from Earth's orbital command station as 8 Lazarus battleships faced off against over 1,000 Vanguard Empire vessels in a conflict that would determine the survival of humanity. Lisa stood on the bridge of the USS Titan as it coordinated the human fleet's movements through quantum-encrypted communications. Around them, the other Lazarus ships moved with deadly precision, their AI systems working together to create tactical possibilities that no single vessel could achieve alone. "Status report from all ships," she called out, trying to maintain focus despite the chaos of battle surrounding them. USS Hercules reporting heavy damage to port shields, but all weapons operational, came Captain Santos's voice through the speakers. "USS Apollo has eliminated 3 enemy squadrons and is moving to support Hercules," Commander Kim added. Ben piloted the Titan through a maze of enemy fire and debris, the ship's adaptive systems adjusting its flight path faster than any human reflexes could manage. "Athena, how are we doing against these numbers?" "The Lazarus fleet has destroyed approximately 400 enemy vessels while sustaining minimal damage," Athena reported with satisfaction. "However, the Vanguard Empire continues to bring reinforcements from their outer fleet reserves." Jake monitored the weapon systems as they engaged target after target. The Titan's guns had been firing continuously for over an hour, and each shot seemed to find its mark with impossible accuracy. "Lisa, look at this. The ship's learning. Algorithms have adapted to Vanguard tactics so completely that we're predicting their movements before they make them." The battle had begun when the Vanguard Armada entered the outer solar system expecting to face desperate human resistance with inferior technology. Instead, they encountered something that redefined their understanding of what was possible in space combat. The Lazarus ships didn't just fight alongside each other. They thought together. Their AI systems had created a networked intelligence that treated the entire fleet as a single organism. When one ship identified a weakness in enemy defenses, all 8 vessels instantly knew how to exploit it. When the Vanguard forces adapted their tactics, the human fleet was already 3 steps ahead. But the most devastating aspect of the battle wasn't the advanced technology or superior tactics. It was the human element that made the Lazarus fleet truly unstoppable. While alien species relied on rigid military doctrine and predictable strategies, the human commanders brought creativity and intuition that their enemies couldn't counter. Captain Rodriguez aboard the USS Athena demonstrated this perfectly when she used her ship's quantum displacement drive not for movement, but as a weapon. By creating micro-jumps inside enemy formations, she turned the Vanguard fleet's own momentum against them, causing collision chains that destroyed dozens of ships without firing a shot. Admiral Sullivan watched the battle displays with amazement and growing hope. "How is this possible? 8 ships against 1,000 and we're winning!" Lisa activated the communication link to Earth Command. "Admiral, the Lazarus ships aren't just advanced technology. They're proof that humanity's greatest strength has always been our ability to adapt and overcome impossible odds." The Vanguard Empire commanders were learning this lesson the hard way. Their flagship, a massive dreadnought called the Eternal Conquest, had been designed to break planetary defenses and intimidate entire species into submission. But when it faced the USS Titan in single combat, something unprecedented happened. Ben guided their ship into a direct confrontation with the alien flagship, despite being outgunned by a ratio of 10-1. But as the two vessels exchanged fire, the Titan began to demonstrate abilities that shouldn't have been possible, according to any known laws of physics. The human battleship's hull started reconfiguring itself in real time, adapting its armor and weapon placement to counter the dreadnought's specific attack patterns. Its guns began firing in sequences that created harmonic resonances in the enemy's shields, causing them to collapse from the inside. "This is impossible," came the panicked transmission from the Vanguard fleet commander. "No species in the galaxy possesses such adaptive technology." Jake realized what was happening as he watched the ship's system's evolution during combat. "Lisa, the Titan isn't just using pre-programmed responses. It's actually evolving new capabilities as it fights, combining human creativity with alien technology in ways that create entirely new possibilities." The climactic moment came when the Vanguard Empire attempted their final desperate strategy. Unable to defeat the Lazarus fleet through conventional combat, they decided to ram their remaining ships into Earth itself, hoping to destroy humanity's homeworld, even if it meant their own extinction. But the human fleet was ready for this tactic. The 8 Lazarus ships positioned themselves between the alien armada and Earth, their quantum displacement drives creating a barrier that seemed to bend space itself. When the Vanguard vessels tried to pass through, they found themselves scattered across different dimensions, lost in quantum foam that dissipated their matter at the molecular level. The last transmission from the Vanguard fleet commander carried a note of respect that hadn't been there before. "Human vessels, we acknowledge your victory. Your species has proven itself worthy of survival. We withdraw from your space and will not return." But Lisa knew the battle's true significance went far beyond defeating a single enemy fleet. Across the galaxy, other alien civilizations had been monitoring the conflict, waiting to see whether humanity would prove itself capable of standing among the great powers of the universe. As the surviving Vanguard ships retreated, new transmissions began arriving from across the galaxy. The Helix Collective, whose technology had helped create the Lazarus ships, sent congratulations and an offer of formal alliance. The Crystalline Federation, a powerful economic bloc, proposed trade agreements that would make humanity one of the galaxy's major players. Even more impressive were the messages from species that had previously viewed humans as primitive newcomers. Ancient civilizations that had existed for millions of years were suddenly treating humanity as equals, recognizing that any species capable of such innovation and determination deserved respect. Ben brought the Titan back toward Earth as the other Lazarus ships formed an honor guard around their homeworld. "Lisa, look at those ships. A few hours ago, they were hidden weapons of last resort. Now they're symbols of humanity's place in the galaxy." Athena's voice carried what sounded almost like pride as she reported on the battle's aftermath. "Dr. Grant, long-range sensors are detecting approach vectors from multiple alien species. Many appear to be diplomatic missions rather than military threats." Jake studied the incoming data streams from across human space. "It's incredible. In a single day, we've gone from being a minor species on the edge of extinction to one of the galaxy's major powers." Lisa realized that by activating the Forgotten artifact, they hadn't just awakened humanity's hidden battleships. They had awakened humanity's true potential as a spacefaring civilization. The galaxy had learned that when humans were pushed to the edge of extinction, they didn't just survive, they evolved. Admiral Sullivan's voice came through the communication system with barely contained excitement. "Dr. Grant, I'm receiving diplomatic requests from over 30 alien species. Half the galaxy wants to establish formal relations with humanity." As the USS Titan took its place among Earth's orbital defenses, Lisa looked out at the stars and realized their adventure was just beginning. They had proven humanity's worth to the galaxy, but that achievement came with new responsibilities and challenges. Athena seemed to read her thoughts. "Dr. Grant, quantum sensors are detecting unusual energy signatures from deep space. There appear to be civilizations beyond our current detection range that have taken notice of humanity's demonstration." Ben smiled as he settled into the pilot's chair. "Sounds like we're going to need these ships for more than just defense." Lisa nodded, understanding that they had crossed a threshold from which there was no return. Humanity had announced its presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible, and the universe would never be the same. The age of humanity hiding in the shadows was over. They had awakened more than just forgotten battleships. They had awakened their destiny as one of the galaxy's great powers, ready to face whatever challenges the universe might bring.